Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 438. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have with us the internationally acclaimed and inspirational children's book author, Bec Walraven.
Hi.
Hey, Bec. How's it going?
Nice. Good. It's wake up time in Australia. My kids
That's
just
right.
got off to school. My dad just got off to school, so it's nice and quiet for now. But take advantage of that while we can.
Right. And so, because you're in Australia, so it is actually like getting towards winter time now for you, right?
Yeah, it's getting towards winter. Not so much in Queensland. I mean, it is winter in Australia, but Queensland doesn't experience super duper cold winters. We definitely don't get any snow or anything really in Queensland. It has to be like very rare, but we do in parts of Australia. But in Queensland, it won't get too cold here until the very depths of winter. Yeah. So.
And then that's when you have to like turn on your heat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I can see that. So because you're wearing a sweater. Unless they look like
it's a really thin cardigan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the fan is on. It's weird. Yeah. Because my fan is on, you can kind of see the. Yeah. So the fan is on, the sun is out, but I'm wearing a cardigan. It's.
All right. So we got you. You just came out with a book called Hide and Seek, a heartwarming tale about self-acceptance and neurodiversity.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So what inspired you to write Hide and Seek?
So my son is autistic ADHD, and I also got late diagnosed ADHD via my child, which I've heard is a trend and usually happens. You get sort of late diagnosed with all these neurodiverse things. So I guess I kind of wrote it not for him, but I guess about him. I guess I was inspired by that, and I can tell, even though my daughter hasn't been tested yet, that likely she has. She's probably ADHD, I can tell. So I just sort of wrote it so that my kids will always have something to read that helps them feel accepted. I did it just kind of as a hobby to start with, just to say I've written a book, because it's something that I have wanted to do for a while, but I was thinking more like write a novel, but I could never sit down and do that. Funny, ADHD, right? But I wrote a children's book instead, so I can say, hey, I have actually written a book, but it's a kid's book, and it's kind of taken off more than I anticipated, which is totally fine and really great. And if I can get the book out there for kids to read, then that's great too. And I've done some school readings and whatnot as well, so it's getting read, which is fantastic.
Okay.
So yeah.
And the main character's name is Walter, correct?
That's right. He's a possum. That's right. Yeah. I chose a possum because, generally speaking, the squirrel is associated with ADHD, but I wanted it focused more on Australian animals. So I chose a possum, but you can adapt it. You can pretend he's a squirrel. That's totally cool. If you want to do that, yeah. So that's the cow. That's Moo, the cow. That's Walter there. So it's hide and seek. So that's Walter hiding, and that's him there.
And so I'm so talk to us a little bit about the book itself.
Yes.
How did you develop the character of Walter? And he goes on a journey, correct?
He goes on a journey. That's right. So he likes to play hide and seek, which is actually, funnily enough, my kids love playing hide and seek. So he's a golden brushtail possum who likes to play hide and seek with his farm animal friends. But there's one problem: he can't stay still. So he'll go and hide in the mud, and he'll flat mud everywhere and give his spot away, or he'll hide in the leaves and go and give his spot away. And he feels really disheartened that he can't find a place to hide without giving himself away. And that's when a gust of wind comes through the farm, and he realizes that he can move just the same as the wind, and he finds some cool hiding spots there to hide, and feels a bit more accepted, which is fantastic. So he learns self-acceptance there. Mm-hmm.
Right, because you kind of mentioned that with the wind. Is that wind?
That's right.
Is that a symbol of like how the story addresses themes of neurodiversity?
Not particularly, no. It's more using, I guess, the world around you, because, like, a lot of neurodiverse people feel like they don't fit the world that they're currently in, but then sometimes the world does provide, I guess, for you. You're finding ways to not adapt to the world around you, because you should always be you, but being you within that space. So it's a windy day. How are you going to be you in that space? Well, you fidget around, buddy. You fidget around all the time. Like I'm even doing it with my cord here. I'm talking to you. So find a way that doesn't stop you from being you, and you can still do the things that make you happy. And yeah, so
Right.
he blends in with the environment there by the moving environment. Yeah.
And what about his tail? His tail is
Yes.
there's some symbolism behind
Yes.
his tail.
Yeah. So well, yes, because it's a big. I guess it's a big brush tail. It's big. There's no symbolism specifically, but it's like it's just a big bushy tail. It fits in with other things like the wheat in the farm. So and because it moves a lot, because it moves around a lot, it's just symbolic of like I guess not being able to necessarily stay still and fidgeting and being told you fidget too much, and that it's in this book giving other people's hiding spots away. I guess that's kind of it's more about it's symbolic of fidgeting and stimming for an ADHD person or autistic or neurodiverse person. So it's more, yeah, I guess it's symbolic of stimming and yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. Yeah, yeah,
And so because you mentioned this was the first
yep,
book that you've produced so
yes,
far.
yes, so far,
Uh,
yep. hmm
so talk to us a little bit about the writing process. How was your writing process?
So I have trouble sleeping, and I kind of sat up one night and put a few things together. I'd had the idea in my head for a while. I have, I guess, a bunch of children's books that I have rough ideas for and rough outlays for. And I kind of sat up one night. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this. So I sat down and I started putting it together, and it came together, and it was a different animal. It was different animals, and I tried to work with. The idea was like it was going to be, for example, a dog with a Labrador with like a. But I was like, oh no, we won't do that because I guess a Labrador would play with farm animals, but so I came through this whole process of then just doing it and being it was actually my husband's idea to be a possum, um, which was fantastic. Once I read the outline to him, he's like, oh, why is it this, why is it that, make it a possum, which ended up being fantastic with the big bushy tail. Um, so it didn't take me long to get through it all, probably about 2 months, and I had pretty much my copy done, and I just needed to get it edited. So I used to work for a copy editing company, but I don't do copy editing specifically. I did sort of like the formatting and layouts and things like that for like medical journals. It's a bit stale, but it's a job. So I've got connections in editing, and I made it my personal, I guess, uh, I don't know what you call it, but my personal self to say I'm not going to just edit my own work. I'm going to let somebody else do it, because when you read your own work, there's all bias in there, and you get a rogue comma here and there that you miss because you've read it so many times and you've written it. So I've had some people that I know have a look at my work instead, and it's fantastic to know like it came back with minimal editing. And then the next book I've had copy edited as well, and it came back with only a few little tweaks. So it's good to know that I can do it, but I don't want to do it because of the bias behind my own editing my own work. So yeah, yeah.
And so, for those that have never written a children's book before, would
Mhm.
think writing a children's book must be super easy because it's less words. But writing a children's book is incredibly hard.
It's hard. It's hard, especially when your critics are your own children who are very honest, especially an autistic child who's very honest. Um, and no, it is very hard because they do pick up on consistency. They do pick up on plot holes. They ask why all the time. And if you consistently get, because I had other kids read the book too, and if you constantly get the same why, then you have to go back and answer the question. And we all know kids, why? And if you're not answering the question, they think you have to go and answer a bunch of questions that they don't, um, you didn't think that they would ask. And yeah, there's plot holes, and there's like flow, and they've got to keep them entertained the whole time. You can't just, you know, you can't just write about anything. They
Hmm.
do get bored if there's not enough, if there's too many words, there's too little words. So it is actually hard to do that. Um, and then especially when you try to match the images with the words, they still have to be consistent, and there's still got to be flow. And you put one thing wrong out of place, they know. So pesky kids and their observance. Yeah. So
And
yeah.
how much has your book changed from its first draft to when it was published?
Um, Other than changing Walter the animal, probably not terribly, because I've always had the idea there and I've always kind of refined it in my head and I've always had the outline. Or then probably from that process quite a lot, but that would have been over a very long time, about a year and a bit. Um, so from the very, very scribbled draft, probably almost entirely, but from when I kind of had the bullet points down and ready to go, probably half of it's changed. And then from when I did my final draft that I wanted to do, there was probably about 20% that I needed to change because I kind of had it. I've been thinking about it for so long, so and refining it in my head for so long. Yeah, it's only when you see it, when you start to see it, you're like, oh, there's something there, there's something there, there's something there that I need to fill in. So yeah.
Hmm.
Mm, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you learn about yourself while putting this book together?
I learned that I learned that I don't. Sometimes you have to just let things let things go as they are. Like, it is a children's book at the end of the day. Um, if I make it too, if I do too much in it, then it also becomes overcomplicated and over complex. So simplifying that back and pulling that back, but keeping the same message and still answering those questions that that kids do ask when you make your book. I guess I found that, sometimes over explaining or overdoing those types of things. So I've kind of learned to not do that as well. So yeah.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. So, how did you decide to pursue self-publishing?
I had a look around for, I guess, publishing companies. A lot of the ones that say they're publishing companies are just those vanity ones that, I mean, I did kind of go with a vanity publisher to get the images done. I've done my own images for my next book, my own illustrations, but for this book, I needed just to pump it out or it would never get done. But in the process of applying for proper publishers, they're just, I guess, it feels like you always owe them money. You always owe them something, and if you get something back, you're not going to get much money back. They have super high control of what you want to do, and I definitely wanted this to be my project for me. Um, I definitely didn't want other people taking over the project and having their say in what they wanted to do, because I wasn't doing this to make money, and I'm still not making that much, which is totally fine because I did it for me and my project for what I wanted to do. And in keeping with that, I decided to take away all my applications. I think I did hear back from one of them, but I'm not sure if they ended up being like secretly a vanity publisher or not. Um, but I felt like, no, I don't want someone else to control it. So I went that route. I do wish I had done my own illustrations now, though. I had trouble finding a vanity publisher, a self-publishing company that would not offer marketing and tens of thousands of dollars of stuff that I'm like, I just want illustrations. And then they ended up, the company I found, they ended up I let them do the formatting too, because I figured that's one less thing I have to do, and if they're doing the images anyway, I may as well just do that. But they ended up stuffing the whole thing up. My book got returned with someone else's name on it and a bunch of some text that shouldn't have even been there.
Oh,
Walter
Jesus.
was like bigger than a cow at one point, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. So I had to put my foot down, and then I still paid them for their work because I didn't want them to come back to me later and say, oh no, you don't own these anymore. And I didn't want them to, because they had a money back guarantee, but I'm like, if I ask for my money back, I don't want them to come back and say, you can't use these illustrations. And it was done, it was there. I just had to reformat it. So whilst I did take a vanity publisher in the end so that I could have what I wanted, I am now, my next book, I'm doing the whole entire thing myself because it was a huge waste of stress for me. So
Right.
they didn't have the book the right size that I wanted in the end. and they weren't listening. Like I wanted a square book, and they ended up doing the very, very polished one that they gave me was like a 6x9, which is the size of like a book that like it's like this size roughly. This, I happen to just have a piece of paper here. It's like that size, and for that's more of like a young adult novel type
Right.
size. It's not like a children's book. Like this looks much better. I've got a copy here. This looks much better in a square for
Mm.
like just for kids books, and a lot of the work that I did, and they just didn't want to listen to half of what I had to say. So this time I'm definitely just doing the whole thing myself, even if it takes longer.
Mm.
um, but yeah, so that's kind of why I took that route to have it as my own project, because that's why I was doing it. I wasn't doing it to make money. I wasn't doing it to be super famous. If that happens to happen from my own work, then that's fantastic. But that was not my start goal. Um, yeah, and
Right.
that's why I took it that way.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so, Beck, let's talk a little bit about themes and representation then. So,
Mhm.
why is it important to include neurodiverse characters in children's literature?
I think because neurodiversity is an up and coming, and I think well that was my target audience anyway. But I think it's important because you have the two, I guess, worlds there where there's I say worlds because my daughter says, "Oh, are they in our world?" Like not in regards to like neurodiversity, but just she, you know. Um, like she asks about cartoon characters, are they in our world or are they not? Like she asks those things, so I sort of use worlds as an explanation. But in our world, there's you're neurodiverse and you're neurotypical, and I think neurodiversity being an up and coming, there's so many books now, right now, about it. But I guess even 10 years ago, neurodiversity was understood and underrepresented. So it's important now to have those characters in there, but also have some neurotypical characters in there. Like Puff the sheep is definitely a very typical character. He did get quite frustrated at Walter, and you can see in his face like the gum tree. You can definitely see it on his face. So I think it's important to actually have a balance of both and understand how each one functions and how we can be inclusive with that. So I think it's important to include those types of the characters in the books. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, my next
Okay.
character, my next book. Oh, sorry, not my next book, but I have another character where I'm going to have. I'm not going to put it like up front in the like right there where everyone can see it, but I'm going to have. I try to work with animal characters so that I don't so that every child can relate to it. But one book that I'm going to do is have they are going to be children, and they're just going to have a diverse range of different cultures, things like that. In the book, it doesn't get mentioned, but I'm just going to obviously try and include that. But I'm going to have one that has a wine stain on her face because I think those, just because there are kids that go, oh, what's that? And I feel like just normalizing it. I'm not even going to mention that the kid has it. I'm just going to have the character in there with it. So the wine stains, the I don't know what they're actually called on their face, where they have like the purple kind of birthmark on their
Mhm.
face. Yeah, so she's just going to
Okay.
kind of be a character in the book. That's not nothing. I don't want to put it out there as a because it's something I don't know about. I can't relate to really. But you definitely see kids go, oh, So if you just have
Right.
a character in there to normalize it, I feel like. So I think normalizing some things is good in books, and that's why I sort of chose what I chose. Yeah.
And so, and you mentioned too, because you have your child, your child has is neurodiverse.
Uh-huh.
How do you ensure authenticity when writing about diverse experiences?
Sure. So I guess it's come from my own dis- diagnosis of ADHD and discovering myself and looking back on I guess when I was a child, because I'm very high masking, actually not
Mhm.
so much. I've currently slowly started to let loose, which is why my hands do what they do, um, and I guess my own experiences as a child, but also I do get kids to read it and ask and tell me what they think. I do read it at schools. I have teachers have a read of the books too from their experiences and say, what do you think of this character? What do you think of that? So I do try to look at the target market that I am targeting and get their opinions on it. And I would definitely take their feedback if they said, no, that doesn't seem right, or I can
Mm.
relate to that, but this and that. So I try to be authentic in that sense that even though I myself am neurodiverse, I'm only coming into discovering all of that myself in the last year or two, and some people have lived it their entirety of their life. So I do speak with them and get their opinions on it as well.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so, do you have any, as you mentioned too, you have plans for future books
Yep.
then as well?
Yeah. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. Yeah. Yep. I've got a book coming up. I can talk about it. That's fine. I've got a book coming up with an autistic character, like specifically autistic. So, um, hide and seek is kind of just neurodiversity as a whole, but I'm specifically targeting autism in my next book. Millie the mouse. She's a mouse, Millie, and she is going to a an event. That she doesn't want to socialize because of the loud noises, and there's going to be different foods, different noises, things like that she's not going to be uh, used to. So it's how she sort of, and her grandfather is very supportive he understands that she's having some loud noises happen and she wants to try and escape, so he tries to help her go into like the corner and take a minute to have a breath and come back out to and unfortunately she's in this situation where she didn't want to go to it, but she's
Mm.
been dragged to it. So it's very relatable to my son, unfortunately, but we try our best to obviously not drag him to things that he doesn't want to go to, but unfortunately he can't avoid everything. But and then yeah, so I guess that's my next one. And then I've got another one. This is an Australian one. It's in an Australian garden, and it's an echidna. But he, why did I say he's a she character? Sorry. I didn't even know why I said that. She wants to try and fit in with the birds in the sky because there's lots of birds in the garden, and she wants to try and be their friends. But obviously she's a spiky echidna, so it's her journey on trying to, I guess, fit in with those characters, that's very still in the works, but I've got it all written up and I've already um, dabbled with some illustrations and sort of posted about that. So I can post about that because I've already posted the idea. But yeah, it's about her trying to fit in with. I guess she's not a bird, is she? So, but she wants to try and fit in with the birds. So yeah, very cute book. Yeah, that's gonna be one of
Um,
my favorite ones, I think. Yeah, sorry, that's gonna be one of my favorite books that
okay.
I've done. Yeah.
So, how do you see parents and educators using hide and seek for educational tool?
They already do. The school my son goes to, they have read it at their school, and they've done a few little activities on it as well. They've explored the word neurodiversity, so they've actually used the book to explore that actual word. Um, and I've had kids once because I've done author visits to the school come up to me and they say, "Oh, is your book about ADHD? Is your book about autism?" So these are like we have what's called prep, so that's like kindergarten. So it's the first year of school. That's not year one. I don't know what you guys have. Um, we have kindergarten in Australia in some states, but where I'm from in Queensland, it's prep. So whatever's before like year one. I don't know what you call it, but I've had kids that age, so like 4 or 5 year olds come up to me and say the word neurodiversity. So they've actually been working with them specifically with that word. So it's been really great to see that from such a young age. Kids are exploring that already. So yeah.
What resources would you recommend for those interested in learning more about neurodiversity?
All My Stripes. It's a zebra. It's a book about a zebra that has different stripes. I'd
Okay.
recommend that one. And there's All Dogs Have ADHD and All Cats Have Autism. So I use a lot of kids' books for that, and it explains things in a very fun way to those. I guess anybody, if you're neurotypical or if you're neurodiverse, you can relate to those books anyway. But I found I didn't really use because my son sees an OT and he sees like psychology, things like that. So those are the resources that they use medically. But if you don't have access to those things, definitely there's lots of kids' books online that and in libraries and things like that that I used for my children.
So then, Beck, if people want to learn more about you and your
Mhm.
book and your upcoming works, where is the best place they could go to?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Bec underscore Walraven underscore author. You'll find me on Instagram there. And then I've got my Australian site, which you had up there, which is bec.warraven.books. But if you want to get it from overseas, like I said, if it's cheaper to not buy it off my direct website, if you're not in America or UK, wherever, just go to Amazon or Barnes and Noble. But yeah, if you want to get in touch with me, there is a contact page on my website, and that will just go
Okay.
through to my emails. And then my Instagram is Bec underscore Walraven underscore author at, and then that's my Instagram tag. So,
Okay,
and then, you can
excellent.
contact me on there. Yeah, and if you want to, just contact me on the contact me page on my site. That's my email address, and it's got my Instagram on there as well. So, it's been a while since I actually wrote my Instagram, which is why I forgot the tag. But that's okay. Now it's right there as well. So,
Right.
and then I recommend. It actually says down the bottom of my page there, if you're overseas, go to Barnes and Noble or go to Amazon, because it's just shipping sucks from Australia. So it's just going to save you so much more money doing it that way.
Right.
Yeah. Or it
All
should
right.
be. I'm going to put it in the soon. I'm going to send it to there's a library that I can send a digital copy of my book to, so people can access it for free if they want to as well, in the future. And if you've got Spotify, it's on. I do actually have CS Storytime, so CYA Storytime. They're a channel. They actually read my book out, so you can access the audio for free, the audio reading of it for free if you've got Spotify, which is good if you're not good at
Oh,
reading or
cool.
don't like to read.
All right. Well, listen, Bec, you're going to have to come back on when you get your sequel book coming
Yes,
out.
I will. Yeah, I
Yeah.
will. I would love to. That'd be fantastic.
Excellent. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much,
Yeah.
Bec. Is there any did you hear about the thing about the dire wolf? How they actually made the dire wolf again? Did you
I
hear that
heard
in the
about
news?
that. Yeah, they heard about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I
Kind of
want
cool
them to
for
bring
them.
back I
Yeah.
want them to bring back the Thylacine. That would be super cool.
Oh, I don't know what that is. What is that? I'm
The
gonna look it up.
Thylacine? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I thought that was isn't that the Tasmanian tiger, or isn't that another name
Is
for a
it? Oh, is
Tasmanian
that the
tiger?
name? Is that name for it? Okay,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was gonna say Tasmanian tiger. When you were done, would be cool. But it is. Okay. I did not know that was the name for it. There you go. You taught me
Okay.
something. Yeah, that's good.
I taught
Yes,
you something about
it taught me something about my own country.
some
I got
random
schooled by an American in my own
about
country.
my own country.
Hey, that's good. I love it. We all should learn from each other.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right.
Very
All
cool.
right.
Very cool. Yeah.
All right, here we go, Bec. I am going to read the intro, and then we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Go for it.
Okay. All right, here we go. All right.